Here we go, Friday afternoon, and it's time to make some sourdough bread. Now, I've not made any for a couple of months while I've been installing my gorgeous kitchen, but I'm going to do a step-by-step how easy it is to make sourdough bread. So, first off, you need a sourdough starter. And if you watched my video earlier, this is where, when I fed my sourdoughs, this is where they were. They've actually doubled in size now. So we are going to check to see if these are ready for baking. And simply, we take a little spoonful of sourdough starter, drop it in the water. If it floats, it's going to work. So this is the question. Will it float or will it sink to the bottom? Oh, yes. Oh, look at that. It's floating on top of the water. That means that our sourdough starter is absolutely ready for baking. Okay, so all we need for our sourdough bread is 460 grams of plain flour. You can use strong bread flour. It's entirely up to you. I've just used normal plain flour and it works. We need 300 grams of starter dough. So I'm going to take half out of each into that bowl, and we are going to weigh 300 grams of sourdough starter. So we have just over 300 grams of sourdough starter. We're going to mix our water into it. And give it a good mix together. So there's our sourdough starter and our water mixed together. This we're going to pop into the flour, and it really is as easy as that. Sourdough starter, water and flour, and that, the only thing we're going to add at a later stage is some rock salt. So I'm going to mix that up by hand. There you go. I've literally mixed that by hand. And that is like a ribbon stage. I haven't mixed it. I just pulled it all together. And as you can see, it's pretty rough, like a rough pastry. I'm going to cover that now and leave it for, I think it's about half an hour. I'll check now. That is called the autolyse stage. I think that's what it's called, the autolyse stage. This is what you have to do first before you start pulling your dough about, and yeah, so we're going to leave that now. So that is at the autolyse stage. We leave that now for an hour to build up structure into the dough. So Alexa, time 1 hour.
Good afternoon, Keith. 1 hour, starting now.
Guys, I don't know if you've ever bought these, but we buy these in Lakeland, and it's like a hairnet that goes over food. They are absolutely fantastic for baking. So that's over there. That's going to sit there for an hour now for the, I hope I'm saying it right, it's the autolyse process, where you just leave that for an hour so it builds up more structure in the bread. So while I'm leaving that now, I'm going to move on and get my second loaf ready. Okay, so when I fed my starter doughs earlier today with 150 grams of flour and water, I didn't really realise that it was going to be enough to make enough starter dough to make 2 loaves. I thought I was going to have to feed them again. But hey ho, we've got another 300 grams of starter dough mix. We've got more flour. What I'm going to do, when I've made this second loaf, I'm going to feed these little beauties with, say 25 grams of flour and water. And then I'm going to pop them back in the fridge till next week. So let's get on and make this second loaf. So that's my 2 sourdough doughs made up in the bowls, both covered over. As you can see, there's not a lot of starter dough left in the jars, but it doesn't matter. you only need a small amount, literally. So I could feed that now with 25 grams of plain flour and 25 grams of water, and that would be enough. But I'm going to give them 50 grams each, just to give them a boost. I'm going to let them double in size, and then I'll pop them back in the fridge later on. They can live there for a couple of days. The one important thing that we have to remember when we're making sourdough bread is both the doughs are made up, but you have to make sure that you refeed your sourdough starters. These sourdough starters were born on the 30th of May 2024. And what are we now? We're nearly at the end of August. May, June, July. 3 months ago these were started, and they are fit, they're healthy. Look, they're starting to bubble already, and they're making some fantastic bread. So make sure you look after your starter doughs. They are fed, they are happy. I'll put them to one side for a bit now, and then once they've doubled in size, I'll put them in the fridge. Just remember, without happy sourdough starters, you won't be making sourdough bread. Keep them guys happy. And yes, I did say earlier on I was going to give them names. So I think I'm going to call this one Bill and this one Joan. So meet the new starter doughs, Bill and Joan. So I'm going to put the names on them later.